Ever since I found this post about the Frankenstein mod in 2022, I've been learning this ultimate fix for the yellow light of death, also known as. That's why I started practicing how to extract the good GPU and remove the bad GPU. I then spent months trying to master the process of reballing a BGA chip, only to fail miserably. This new hobby has become my biggest torture and is definitely my one-way express ticket to a psychiatric ward. All these struggles are just to prepare myself to put a good GPU back to the motherboard. But that's not all. I also need to do the resistant mod and patch the Syscon so that the motherboard can recognize the new GPU. After all that tedious work, I ended up with a console that doesn't even make a noise anymore and throws the notorious Syscon error 3034. I failed my first attempt in my last video, but I decided to give it one more try, hoping that I could succeed this time. Or so I thought. Spoiler alert! It turns out to be another nightmare. With nearly 20 hours of raw footage, it's time to organize everything and publish it as my future reference. Warning, this video is going to be long and mentally exhausting. If you're allergic to failure, I suggest you to click away before it's too late. Oh, still here? Then welcome to the journey of... As some of you might already know, we need a good GPU to fix the bad GPU. Let's see if this console has a healthy GPU. It's singing the beautiful song of the yellow light of death. Alright, let's tear it down to check what's wrong. Thank you Novi Audi for correcting my horrendous English. Since this model is a L model, there should be a good 65nm GPU inside. To tear down the console, we need to remove this hidden screw and slide open the cover. Remove even more screws to open up the case and expect to see some dirty monstrosities inside. A bit out of my expectation, it's actually quite clean. That's good. Now we need to remove the power supply and the Blu-ray drive as they are getting in the way of the motherboard. What the hell? Who the heck screwing this screw so tight? Damn, that's super tight. Oh god, not again. We need to be careful about these tight screws, otherwise we'll get something like this, which is even more difficult to be removed. Okay, a few more screws to go before we can get to the motherboard. Once we expose the motherboard, it's time to extract the Syscon error log. By now, you should already be familiar with Syscon. If not, check this tutorial. Alright, let's speed run the whole process. With this command, we know the Syscon error is 102, which means the NEC token has gone bad. To be safe, let's replace the NEC tokens to see if it fixed the console. Remember, replacing the NEC token is not the magical cure for the yellow light of death. It's only a cure for the Syscon error 102, so always check the Syscon error log before doing anything. We are going to replace them with the RIPFelix Tantalizer. This is currently the best replacement for the NEC tokens. Alright, with my lousy soldering skill, I managed to solder them back. Let's turn it on and check if that yellow light of death caused by the Syscon error 102 is fixed. Yes, it's fixed. That means the GPU on this console is good. Let's proceed to extract the GPU from this console. Some of you might think, you fixed this console just to kill it? Yes, I fixed it to make sure the GPU is good, so that I can use the GPU to fix 3034 through the Frankenstein mod. Usually, I would delete the GPU before desoldering, but for some reason, the glue on this GPU is way stronger than a normal 65nm GPU. I feel like I would damage it if I force it open. So I leave the IHS on. It seems this console is made in Japan, maybe that's why it's different. Maybe the GPUs with the extra letter C always have strong glue. Now we need to add flux under the GPU. Many of you said my flux sucks, but I just want to support my local economy by buying locally produced flux. There are just so many choices. No clean, halogen free, lead free. I just don't know which one to use. Maybe I should start with lead free. Speaking of flux, it's just impossible to get M-Tech in my country. If you try ordering it from AliExpress, you will always get this rubbish made in another country. Once we add enough flux, you will see it coming out from the other side. Then we just need to put it on top of the preheater to bake it. We want to bake out the moisture to prevent PCB delamination. Let's set the temperature that is high enough to boil away the moisture. I also want to know how much electricity I actually use for pre-baking. That's why I have this little device to measure the power usage. It uses 1000 watt. That's why the cable gets hot. Luckily, I have a new cable that allows high power applications. It doesn't get as hot as the old power cable. After 8 hours of pre-baking, we have used 2.41 kilowatt hours, which costs me about only 50 cents. It's actually not that expensive, which is good to know. Good question. I do have a suction pan that I got from AliExpress, but it sucks. I mean, it doesn't even have enough suction to hold the RS6 up. But recently, I found this one that looks much more promising. So I bought one to see if it sucks or not. I can see the word USA, so it must be great. And the suction is strong enough to hold the IHS without falling. Okay, I'm going to use it to extract the GPU. A tiny accident before the desoldering. My hot air gun holder explodes into pieces. Luckily, no PS3 was hurt in this incident. I have to fix this trash before we can proceed. Well, I think that fixed it. Now, it's also a good chance to show you guys how I hold my hot air gun. And I raise and lower the hot air gun like this. As an amateur, I use amateur equipment. Okay, enough showcasing, let's prepare for the desoldering. Add a bit more flux. Tape down the aluminum foil so that I can take some good shots. Adjust the hot air position to align with the RS6. Then put a thermocouple to measure the board temperature. And finally, cover up the hole. Okay, let's bring up the board temperature. A lot of professional technicians always talk about profile. It's something that you can program and save to the rework station. And the station will automatically heat up the board and desolder the RS6. But as an amateur using cheap equipment, I need to do everything manually. That's why I think it's important to videotape every single desoldering that I try, so that I know the time required to heat up the board and the time required to desolder the RS6. Ouch, that's what you get using a chip holder. This is the hot air temperature, this is the preheating temperature, and this is the board temperature. I record them so that if I succeed, I know what setting to use next time. And if I failed, I know what not to use next time. Again, if you have a professional rework station, you can just save the profile. You can see that even when the preheating temperature is at 250, the board temperature is just at around 180. It's terrifying to hear any pop sound during the desoldering, because usually when it pops, the board or the RS6 is dead. It seems having the IHS attached increases the desoldering difficulty. Let's tune up the hot air temperature a bit. I also check if the thermocouple is touching the board. Yes, it is. The board temperature is just unusually low. Is the reading wrong? Let's nudge the RS6 a bit. No, it's not melting yet. It's only 1 minute since I turned on the hot air, but I feel like I've been staring at the RS6 for ages. Finally, the board temperature goes about 200, but we need at least 250 to melt the lead-free solder. Oh no, what happened? It sounds like a massive delamination, and the board temperature is going up like crazy after the explosion. Oh my god, it finally melts at 280. Time to remove it. Oh no, where's my suction pan? Damn, it rolls down to the floor. I pick it up and remove the RS6. It takes 2 minutes to remove the RS6 with the IHS attached. Last time when I did it without the IHS, it took just 1 minute and with a much lower hot air temperature. It seems the lead-free flux that I use is good. It doesn't turn black after the desoldering. And it uses only 2.68 kilowatt hours for the whole desoldering process. If we also consider the hot air station, we can round it up to 3 kilowatt hours. Okay, time to delete the RS6. If you have a 90nm or a normal 65nm RS6, the IHS can be removed easily using hot air, as the glue softens at 100 degrees Celsius. Only when you have a 40nm RS6, you need to delete like this. Now we have to clean everything up and check if this GPU is still working. Oh no, it's not good, especially the FB VDDQ, which is corresponding to the 4 VRAMs. When you have a shorted FB VDDQ, the VRAMs are dead, and the whole RX is dead. What a good start for the Frankenstein mod. What's the explosion during the desoldering? I was expecting to see some exploded aluminum caps, but they are all good. Then when I look around, I saw this. Damn, I forgot to remove it before baking. What a mess. I can't imagine what would have happened if I didn't use the aluminum foil. This black toxic substance would have been everywhere. Alright, let's clean up the mess that I created. After cleaning up, I also want to recycle the last 2 Felix Tantalizer that I have. Just like the original NEC tokens, once the Tantalizer is attached, it is nearly impossible to be removed. Don't worry, we can use the PCB assembly service from PCB to get the Felix Tantalizer done. Perfect. Basically, we just need to send them the Gerber files, which is already available on the internet, and then send them a BOM. No, not that BOM. I mean this BOM file, which stands for Build of Materials. It lists out what components you want to use on the Tantalizer. And finally, the Centroid file, also known as the Pick and Place file. This file tells the machine the exact locations of the components. Once they have these files, they will make the PCB and populate for you. Let's measure the capacitance. It seems good. How about the ESR? It's also low enough. Now, you can even make your own Felix Tantalizer up to 50% off during the Christmas and New Year sales. I want to thank PCB for sponsoring the Felix Tantalizer. Since our first RS6 is dead, we need to find another donor for the RS6. This console works out of the box, and it also comes with a free game. Alright, time to do another teardown. I tear down so much, I'm now in tears. Ugh, it's so dirty. I don't even want to touch it. I think I need to buy and start wearing plastic gloves. This time, remember to remove the CMOS battery. I don't want another explosion. Maybe I should also recycle these thermal pads. They might come in handy later. Again, this RX6 has an extra letter C on it. As usual, add flux until it spills out. And bake out the moisture. Just like before, I bake it for 8 hours. After baking and before desoldering, we need to attach the thermocouple to measure the board temperature. And we also need to align the hot air gun with the RS6. Okay, board temperature approaching 170. This time, let's try a lower preheating temperature at 225. Remember, the board temperature is usually much lower than the preheating temperature. Let's try 350 as the hot air temperature this time. I hope nothing goes wrong. It seems 350 is too low. Let's increase the hot air temperature a bit more. The solder balls are not melting, so I tune up the hot air temperature even more. The board temperature is now 270, and it's still not melting. 280. One more nudge. Finally, it's done. It's time to remove it. It takes over 2 minutes to desolder the RX6 this time, which means 225 is indeed too low as the preheating temperature. Is the RX6 still alive? Great, the GPU is still alive this time. Let's reball it. I know this flux sucks, but let's give it one more chance before I switch to the one you guys suggested. Make sure the flux is thin enough. Then align the stencil with the pads. Add 0.6mm solder balls and shake it. Recycle the extra balls and save them for later. There's not 1, not 2, not 3, but a lot of you guys asking me why do I remove the stencil. Does keeping the stencil on makes things easier? There's only one way to find out. Let's try it. Whoa, is it even normal? I feel like my stencil is breaking. If you didn't see what happened, let me replay it with 10 times speed. The stencil just expanded like a bread inside an oven. Stencils are expensive, I don't want to destroy it, so I better reboard it without this stencil on. Some boards are touching each other, I better separate them before they merge. After 10 minutes of moving boards, this is the final result I get. Let's try the flux Felix recommends. Finally, this is a flux that I can buy. This is the packaging. When you see this flag, you know it's gonna be great. And this is the actual flux. Let's try it. I know I just need a small amount of flux, but somehow my hand is out of control. As suggested by Felix, I should use my finger to spread the flux evenly. As usual, put the stencil on and add some balls. Then blow some hot air. Oh, I messed up. So having a good flux doesn't magically reball the RS6 successfully. You still need the right amount of flux. There's no choice. Let's clean up and try again. This time use the perfect amount of flux. How come? There are so many ways you can mess it up. After fixing the balls manually, it's time to blow some hot air again. This corner is not done yet. Let's focus on this area. After this, we apply the second layer of flux and blow hot air to center the balls. When I flip over the chip, I see something scary. Don't tell me the R6 is dead after reballing. There's one way to check it, that is to measure the FB VDDQ resistance. Thank God, there's no short, it's still alive. Since we're already here, let's also measure the remaining resistance. Great, let's move on to the next step. I found the next victim for the Frankenstein mod, a B model without a warranty sticker. This time we need to make sure everything works before doing organ transplantation. Let's power it up. What? The LED light isn't even turning on. What a great start, just like my average Monday. Well, I guess we have no choice but to tear it down again. Is the power button even connected properly? Let's have a look. I can say there's definitely something wrong with it. Let's tear it down a bit more to see it clearly. Always remember to remove the hard disk before taking the motherboard out of the plastic case. Oh, there's no hard disk inside. I always like to use gravity to remove the motherboard. Okay, I think we can see the cable clearly now. I'm 100% sure the cable is not fully connected. Let's fix it. Since the cable is stuck under the metal shield, I have to remove it before I can unplug the cable. Luckily, there's no damage on the cable. So we can simply plug it back properly this time. Okay, let's put the power supply back and see if we can turn it on. Yes! What an easy fix. Let's power it up. Surprisingly, this console works. But the hard disk is missing. So let's turn it off and give it a hard disk to check if everything is working. Well, let's use the hard disk from the dead console which I failed my Frankenstein mod previously. Okay, let's turn it on again. Since we are using the hard disk from another console, we need to format it. Once we are in the main menu, we need to connect to the internet so that we can check the Syscon history. It's asking me to use the LAN cable, but I want to use Wi-Fi. Then I realized that this model has no Wi-Fi capability. After connecting the LAN cable, we need to install the latest firmware so that we can check the Syscon error. We just need to accept this, accept that, and stare at the progress bar. Then this error pops up. After searching online, this error means that the Blu-ray drive is either broken or not detected. Of course, the Blu-ray drive is not even there. Then that's easy, let's put it back. Let's also put back the wireless module for the controllers, because it will also give you another error if it is missing. Wait, what? It doesn't power up anymore? Maybe the power cable is loose? I tried turning the power switch on and off for a few times, but there's no change. Then let's try troubleshooting by elimination. I remove both the Blu-ray drive and the wireless module to see if it works. It works. Only when the Blu-ray drive is completely removed, the console powers up. Something is wrong with this Blu-ray drive. I inspect the circuit to see if I can see anything obvious. But I found nothing wrong. Okay, let's grab another Blu-ray drive from a dead console and try again. What's wrong? I can't even clip the cable back. This cable is so dirty, I have to clean it first. After cleaning, let's try it again. It works. There's definitely something wrong with that Blu-ray drive. How about swapping the ribbon cable? Will it work? No way. The problem is the ribbon cable? Okay, we are here to do the Frankenstein mod, not troubleshooting the Blu-ray drive, so let's continue updating. It works this time. Let's change the language, synchronize the time, and go to this special website to check the Syscon error history. According to the Syscon error history, we have tons of 3034. So this console is a perfect patient for the Frankenstein mod. When I checked the level 1 dump, I found this information. It says the RX is made by Sony and is in bin 3. Bin 3 is like the RTX 3080 and bin 2 is like the RTX 3090. No, I'm not making these things up. They are literally available on the internet for you to read. Okay, back to the console. The whole point of saving the backward compatible models is to have the PS2 functionality. So let's also check if it can play PS2 games. Just when I'm checking if the console is stable or not, it suddenly shuts down. And we don't even have the LED light anymore. I encountered this problem once. It's due to the power supply overheating. Without a plastic case, there's literally no airflow on the power supply. Luckily, we have a spare one, so let's just replace it. And let's continue testing PS1 games. Okay, both PS1 and PS2 games work. Then let's proceed to the actual Frankenstein mod. Just like before, add some flux under the RS6. This time we have a dropper which makes things slightly easier. After that, we need to mount the board on this holder. Since we are gonna preheat it, I want to protect the sensitive components by covering them with aluminum foil. I think now even you guys are familiar with the procedure. Putting the board on top of the preheater to bake out the moisture. And I set the temperature to 120, above the boiling point of water. Now we just need to wait for 24 hours. Let's cut open the aluminum foil and prepare to remove the RS6. Set up the hot air gun by giving it the nozzle for BJ rework. And then adjust the position so that it's aligned to the RS6. Okay, it's time to bring up the board temperature to 170. Once the board temperature hits 170, it's time to bring down the hot air gun. Every single time, I have difficulty lowering the hot air gun. I think this microphone holder is just too cheap and bouncy. If you have a better suggestion, leave a comment below. I think there's something wrong with the thermocouple. The temperature is too low to be true. Alright, it takes about 2 minutes to desolder the RS6. I think this is the average time to desolder the RS6 with the IHS on. Using lead-free flux seems to be the correct choice, as it doesn't turn black after the desoldering. But there's one problem for this kind of flux, it's very difficult to clean off. Let's use this no-clean flux. Because we are going to put another RS6 back with lead solder balls. It's gonna be a BJ marathon. We are doing BJ rework here back to back non-stop. Previously, we start from pre-baking temperature to 170. This time, we start from room temperature to 170. So it's gonna take longer time than before to bring the temperature up to 170. I nudge it a bit to confirm it's done. Just when I think I have a successful attempt, something bad happens. I will let you spot it. Can you see it? Let's rewind and check. We got delamination, which means that the board is dead. But I didn't know it without watching my video, so I continue working on the board. That's why videotaping every single attempt is very important. It allows me to rewatch and identify what's wrong. Interestingly, all the resistance readings are okay, which tricks me into proceeding with the resistor mod. And yes, I'm using double soldering iron to make this job easier. After removing 2 unnecessary resistors, we need to reposition the third resistor diagonally. Before that, we need to grind away the solder mask and create a new pad. Be careful not to lose this resistor. It's so small that once you lose it, you will never be able to find it. Do a final check to see if the resistance is indeed 10K. Yes, it is. Then solder it back to the board. I don't have much micro soldering experience, so I'm quite clumsy here. Once it's done, double check if the resistance is still 10K. Great, it is. I can't wait to see if it works. But before that, we need to patch the Syscon. This is how tedious the Frankenstein Mod is. There are so many steps before you can even check if the console works or not. After the Syscon patch, let's assemble things back. Some people test their console without heatsink, but I want to be safe. Oh, maybe it works. But the screen stays black. I try to turn off the console with the Syscon command shut down, and it gives me this funny sound. We got green light of death here, which is way worse than yellow light of death. It's worse because no error is registered, and it's very difficult to troubleshoot. Since we know we have delamination on the board, I will simply skip all the troubleshooting I did, which is pointless right now. Let's move on. This time I got myself one A model and 2 L models. Some sneaky guy slapped the sticker back on, thinking no one would ever notice. For the 2 L models, it seems they are good. The A model is made in Japan. As for the L models, one is made in China and another one is made in Japan. Let's check their condition. It takes 1 second for the A model to register the Syscon error. 6 seconds for the Japanese L model. And 10 seconds for the Chinese L model. Time to tear them down. I don't enjoy it at all. It's so boring that I need to speed run it. Always check the Syscon before doing any fix. It's 102 again, that means we need to use RIPFelix Tantalizer to fix it. We should be able to turn on the console now. This LED indicator is always a jump scare for me. I always think something is shorted. Anyhow, the console is fixed by using the RIPFelix Tantalizer. Yellow light of death 102 is already an easy fix for me. Let's move on to check the other L model. The same procedure, tear down and then Syscon. Interesting, the history is quite empty. And it's also having 102. Alright, RIPFelix Tantalizer again. Put the hard disk back and check. It also works. That means the GPU is good. So let's prepare for the GPU extraction. No missing pads, so far so good. This is another practice for me to remove the IHS. Is it still alive? It seems so, all the readings are good. Since we have the GPU extraction set up for the L model, Let's also extract one more 65nm RX6 before we move on to the A model. Until now, on average, it takes about 2 minutes to desolder the RX6 with the IHS on. Ugh, I hate the fact that there are still so many steps after desoldering the RX6. Cleaning the solders, measuring the resistance to see if it's still alive. And after this, I still need to reball it. Before getting into a sticky situation, let's consume this white powder to boost my productivity. What do you think I was gonna do? I'm just trying to put on a pair of plastic gloves. Ugh, I really hate reballing. Okay, let's flux this time. Let me experiment with ways to tackle merged balls. The first technique to practice is ball splitter. The splitting is not even and some balls refuse to split. Alright, let's move on to the next technique. Ball sucker. This time we use a soldering wick to suck out the merged balls. After the merged balls are gone, we put new balls back and heat them up again. Once we have our 65nm RX6 ready, it's time to check our main dish, the A model. Let's see what error do we get. Before that, we need to patch the Syscon so that we can get into the internal mode. All the information are available online written by Felix. So nothing difficult here, it's just tedious. Okay, we got tons of 3034. It's time to swap out the bad GPU. Someone has already deleted both the CPU and GPU, but sadly, it doesn't stop the GPU from dying. After 24 hours of pre-baking, let's desolder the RX6. This time, I will play it back in real time to see if you enjoy it or not. How is it? Do you enjoy it? This is basically how I feel every time when I desolder the RX6. Why is this component on top of the other component? Let's fix it. I feel like something went seriously wrong. I better double check my recordings. Damn it! Another delamination? This console is also dead. It's time to move on to the next console. This time we have a B model, made in Japan, and has a broken shell. I'm getting sick of all the teardown. It's so frustrating. Alright, let's see what's inside the Syscon. This time, we have both 1002 and 3034. So, replacing the tokens with the RIPFelix Tantalizer won't work this time, as it solves only the error 1002. If you don't trust me, I can prove it. Let's turn on the console using the Syscon command, bring up. The 3 beeps indicate that an error is successfully captured, and it's 3034. And if you check the error log again, 1002 is gone, but 3034 is still there. To solve the error 3034, we need to swap out the GPU. When the board is still hot, clean out the old solder balls. Make sure there's no missing pads, and try the new flux to solder the RS6 back. I put the IHS on to push the RS6 down during the soldering. Again, bring up the board temperature to 170. Let's do it in real time to see if you can tell if the soldering is done or not. I keep nudging it to see if it's done, but the R6 is not moving at all. Maybe we should wait a bit longer. Give it another nudge. Still not moving at all. It's already 1 minute in. Maybe the temperature is too low. I start to regret putting the IHS on. It makes soldering way more difficult. How is it possible? We are using lead solders. It should melt easier than lead-free solders. Oh wait, finally! When I play the clip in 20 times speed, the R6 sits down at around 20 seconds in, so it's been already done long time ago. Let's check the resistance to see if everything is good. Oh no, I think the FBVDDQ is shorted. The R6 is dead. Anyhow, I still did the resistor mod and patched the Syscon, because I want to know what error do I get if I have a dead RS6. Okay, I still got 3034, but instead of 4421, I get 4002. You see, each 3034 is usually associated with another data link error such as 4421 or 4002. Experienced people could use the associated error to figure out what's the exact problem. But as an amateur like me, I only know 3034 is the RS6 problem. Then let's remove the dead RS6 again. Use a less sticky flux that I'm familiar with and put a working RS6 back. This time, I won't put the IHS on. I'm using a much lower temperature this time, since we expect the lead solder to melt at a lower melting point. Last time, it takes around 30 seconds to get it done, so this time I would expect it takes less than 1 minute. Again, you can see it sitting down because I speed it up. In real time, it's really difficult to see. Let's check if the RS6 is still alive this time. Great, it seems good. Then let's put everything back. Double check the Syscon to make sure the patch is correct. Okay, everything is correct. Let's turn it on. Interesting, we have 102 again. I guess some of the NEC tokens died during the BJ rework. In that case, let's add one more RIPFelix Tantalizer. Does it work this time? We still have the 3034 and 402 combination. I'm out of idea. The resistance readings are good, and I did the resistor mod and the Syscon patch. It should work. After consulting the experts in the PS3 community, people suggest me to try another RS6. According to their experience, sometimes we need to swap out 324 RS6 before it works. Alright, we have no choice but to desolder the 65nm RS6. Oh no, the problem is I don't have 65nm RS6 anymore. I got no choice but to buy more. My patience is running out, and I don't want to wait 8 hours just to desolder the RS6. So let's try without pre-baking. What could possibly go wrong? According to my experience, I could remove the RS6 at around 2 minutes. Oh my god, I haven't seen RAM bleed for quite a while. Maybe my hot air temperature is just too high. Let's rewatch it in slow motion. This RS6 is dead. Let's try it one more time on another console without pre-baking. This time I will use a lower hot air temperature. Hot air temperature at 390. It should be done at 2 minute mark. That's why I removed the hot air gun only to realize it's not done yet. Only when I increase the temperature to 450, I can remove the RS6. But I have the lamination this time. So pre-baking is the key to success? I still don't believe it. This time let's try using even lower temperature. We have went bleed again. It's interesting to see how the solder balls got ejected out. Well, it finally convinced me that pre-baking is the key to prevent delamination and wet bleed. So this time let's bake it for 24 hours. It's ironic that the faster I want to get it done, the more I messed up. It reminds me of the English phrase, haste makes waste. I hope it's still alive. Great, FB VDDQ is good. Just when I'm about to solder it back, I got a message from my friend who is also an expert in PS3. He points out that on top of the Syscon error, the power sequence also matters. It starts with the sequence BX0, then BX1, and then RX0, and so on. So a 3034 at sequence BX0 is totally different from a 3034 at sequence RX0. Based on my understanding, at BX0 and BX1, the Syscon is trying to recognize the RX6. Once the RX6 is detected, the Syscon will move on to the sequence RX0 and so on. So I double checked the Syscon before the Frankenstein mod is at RX2. After the Frankenstein mod, it doesn't even pass the first step of BX0. That means it doesn't even detect the new 65nm RX6. After talking to Felix, he points out I have an uncommon Syscon chip on the COK001 board. I don't know if it's causing the problem. Then another guy also points out that motherboards with the label A6822 are defective. So I went back to check the boards that I have been working on, and it seems he's correct. The two attempts that I got delamination are on the board A6822, and the last one without delamination is on the board 12. Based on this information, I have the following plan. I need to find a console with a normal Syscon chip, and I need to avoid the 22 board. Okay, I got myself a new A model. Let's see what label do we have on the board. Oh no, it's 22 again. And this console works fine. It doesn't even need a Frankenstein mod. We just need to replace the NEC tokens. Okay, let's get one more A model. It doesn't turn on. Let's check the Syscon. What? Another 22 board? Damn it! It has no 3034. This console can be easily fixed with the RIPFelix Tantalizer. Guys, I don't have any more console that needs a Frankenstein mod. I'm so unlucky. When I'm actively looking for a console with a dead GPU, I keep getting consoles that just need the NEC tokens to be replaced. That's it, I failed my Frankenstein mod again. And it seems one of you guys understand my pain. I spent 20 hours on this video, so I just need to try a bit harder to get my first Frankenstein mod done. Feel free to roast me like Michael. Bye.